So today, something different. I have the voice of the ZwiftCast with me, Simon Schofield, all the way from the UK. Simon, welcome to Australia.
Thank you very much, Shane.
Now, tell me, what brings you to Australia?
Well, pretty simple, really. I came first and foremost for the eCrit in Melbourne, the eCrit on Zwift Grand Final, which was run at the Rafa Club in Melbourne a week ago.
Just down the road?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And because I was going to do that, and because Australia's an awful long way from the UK, it seemed like a really good idea to go and spend some time touring around the country, meeting prominent members of the Zwift community in Australia. So that's what I've been doing. I've been to Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, and a town just south of Brisbane called Coffs Harbour.
Excellent. So you've taken in every important part of Australia, because I noticed you missed Tasmania.
I'm not getting into the Tasmania thing. I haven't got enough local knowledge.
Alrighty. So tell us, your history in cycling. You're a road rider?
I'm a road rider, road biker.
Yep.
Yeah. Like many people, I mean, I was a utility cyclist in my youth. I mean, I've always been a cyclist of one kind or another, but I was probably more of a utility cyclist in my youth. I've always had a bike, always, usually a road bike. When I was at college in London, I used a bike for transport. My one big regret in life is I didn't take cycling very seriously when I was much younger, and probably could have been fit enough to actually be competitive. But I didn't really join a club. I was a casual cyclist. Then, like lots of people in my kind of mid-30s, I'd put a few kilos on. The kids were growing up a bit, and there was a bit more time. And I hired a road bike, for the first time in ages. And I thought, God, this is good. And I'd just forgotten how good cycling was. And then it was the familiar kind of snowball. Got very obsessed with road cycling very quickly, bought a couple of bikes. I then went on to do 4 Étapes du Tours, which is a stage of the Tour de France for amateurs. The Marmot, which is another big kind of European sportif. In the meantime, I joined a club. I did a little bit of racing, not much, a bit of crit racing. But I absolutely love cycling. If I'm not on a bike, if there's a gap of more than 2 days of me being on a bike, I get very, very twitchy.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And then Zwift came along. What was your indoor training before Zwift? We'll talk about your Zwift history in a minute, but indoor training before Zwift?
Well, I'm one of those weird people who's always liked the turbo. I mean, I talk to my people in my club about this, and they give me a very old-fashioned look, but I've always liked training on the turbo, not in summer, but in winter. Because it's warm and dry, because you can concentrate, you can have some tunes on, you can work intervals very effectively. All those reasons that you hear why people like turbo training. I've always liked it. So I've always trained indoors in winter, and I've always been keen on tech and innovative stuff. So actually, I was an early adopter of a program called Netathlon. I don't know if you remember Netathlon.
I haven't heard of that one. I'm Coach Troy. I started with Coach Troy. Pants up high, whistle, running around. If anyone knows Coach Troy, I load up those every now and then just for a bit of nostalgia.
Well, this was American software. I mean, it was a precursor to Zwift. I mean, graphically, it was incredibly naive looking now compared to Zwift. Very simple. But it did kind of work. There was a small community attached to it. There was even racing on it. There were different courses. I mean, there was some crazy novelty course where you could cycle on the moon. But, I mean, it was a bit... Well,
we do cycle on Watopia now, some magical, mystical island doesn't exist.
It was a bit weirder than that.
But the moon's a bit...
So there was that. I was an early adopter of the TAX TTS 1, 2, 3 and 4, the TAX version of Zwift. Which, again, it had its adherents, but it also had a lot of problems. The tax forums in those days were very interesting places. And then I kind of, as soon as I saw Zwift, I could see what it was going to do was take those ideas and just make them better. And that was exactly what it did.
So you were very, very early on Zwift.
Yeah.
Now, we have user IDs on Zwift that are sequential numbers. I'm up around 11,000. What's your number?
I don't think I've ever actually said this in public before.
Really? This is not public?
It feels a bit like kind of bragging. But...
Well, we can go range if you like.
No, well, as you've asked me the direct question, I'll give you a direct answer. I am user number 10.
Number 10. As I said, I was an early adopter when it came out for Mac. So the Mac beta, that's when I jumped on board with my kicker. I knew what the kicker was capable of. Zwift was the glue that made it all work.
Yeah.
I was 11,000. I'm well... Yeah. Back down the road. My starting gate is 2 kilometres the other way.
Yeah,
number 10.
I was number 10.
That's on the front line.
There's a little backstory behind that, because at the time and was doing some freelance writing for a magazine in the UK called Cycling Weekly. And because I'd known about Zwift right from the very inception, I saw that very first post of John Mayfield's on Slow Twitch. I'd kind of obsessively followed it.
Yep.
And I kept nagging the company to let me on so that I could do the very first review of Zwift ever.
Right. So you beat DC Ramecker to the punch?
Yeah.
Oh, look out.
I actually did. And if you look up on YouTube Cycling Weekly Zwift, you can still see that review.
I'm going to link below to that. I'm going to find it. I'll link below. So watch out.
It looks a bit...
Yeah.
Actually, I'll probably stand by most of what I said then, but that was very, very early. Anyway, I had a good relationship with Zwift, the company, and Eric Min did give me a profile, and it turned out to be user number 10. And I think it's true to say I'm the first non-Zwift staff person on the platform.
That's royalty.
Yeah.
That really is.
If it sounds like bragging, I'm sorry, but...
No, from a techie point of view, I also, when I found that out over at Eurobike, I asked we found out who user number 1 was. I'm not going to give that away. Yeah. Then I asked, well, who was user number 0? And I think it put them offside a little bit because user number 1's the first. But if you work in tech, there's always a 0. But there's no 0 we found.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So very interesting.
Yeah.
So the ZwiftCast.
Yeah.
How did it come about?
Well, that came about when I decided that I'd kind of lost my mojo for my day job, which was I ran a TV production company. I worked in TV production for many years, and I kind of, as I got older, I kind of lost my mojo with it, really, and I decided to not do television production anymore. So I did a bit of freelance journalism, and in my spare time, I thought I'll start a podcast because to be honest, I was missing the creative side of TV. I wasn't missing any of the annoying and rubbish bits of TV production, of which there are some, I have to tell you. But I was missing the creative side, so I thought I'll start the ZwiftCast as a bit of a hobby project, actually, to see whether there was an audience, 2, whether there was enough content. When it first started, it was once a month. And 3, whether I would enjoy doing it. And it turned out I really did enjoy doing it. I enjoyed the creative side of things. I enjoyed the tech side of things, of the production. It turned out there was an audience.
I can vouch for there being an audience at Eurobike. Nearly everybody we talked to, and from every side of Zwift, from the investors through to the tech staff, everybody in between, and customers coming along on customer day, they knew about the ZwiftCast. They listen.
Yeah, it is in this small part of the world, this small bit of the forest that people are interested and involved in virtual and indoor cycling. I think it has gained a bit of traction, But the thing that surprised me, and surprises me to this day, we've just recorded episode number 35, I think. And
yes, 35.
Episode 35, and it still surprises me to this day how much there is to talk about.
For sure.
I mean, we are never short of stuff to talk about. I think we sometimes repeat ourselves a little bit and we return to themes, but usually that theme's been updated by some fresh piece of information or some fresh controversy or some fresh talking point. So, it amazed me that there was an audience. It amazed me there was enough content. It didn't surprise me that I liked doing it. But all those 3 things are still true today.
Brilliant. Now, I think the platform itself that can be changed with one single software drop is always something to talk about. Yeah. So we talked about there's an upcoming platform change with more roads potentially coming soon. There's more features coming soon. So at any afternoon, I think tomorrow afternoon something drops as well in regarding to, we won't even mention it. Everyone will see it tomorrow afternoon, which is probably out before this comes out. But things like that, and then it opens up discussion on the forums. And I think the Facebook forums are also a really good source of discussion points to start. So a lot of people are a bit scared to enter into comments and ask silly questions, what they think is silly questions. Ends up being really, really good content for either us to talk about, and eventually that filters back to the developers and the people who make these decisions. So always something to talk about. So, Kicker or Neo?
Neo.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough, I've got a Kicker on a Neo. I love my Neo. I don't dislike the Kicker. I think the Kicker's a fine trainer. It's a great trainer. But the Neo for me gets it really on noise, actually. It's quiet.
So what I notice over in the UK, a lot of people live on top of each other. And do you live in a very close quarters? You've got to have quiet? Or
no, I don't, but I train above where my wife spends a lot of time. making my tea or doing something in the kitchen that usually results in a really nice meal. So I am conscious of the noise I make when I'm training, and not just the grunting.
Right. And if anyone wants to ask me that question, I own them all. They're all here, and Simon can vouch for that.
I've seen them all. I've just seen one in the shower.
Actually, there is one in the shower. We're very low on space for here. So where do you see Zwift going in the short term and the long term? So 6 months and 6 years. What's your take on both sides?
God, that's a really tough question.
Oh, yeah.
In the short term, I think there's going to be a huge emphasis on growing the subscriber base. I mean, that is how businesses grow. And I think to do that, they've got to look beyond the hardcore cyclist, who I think is more or less what the user base is now. So I think they've probably got a lot of the hardcore cyclists, a lot of the people like me and you who've always seen the value of turbo training indoors. I think a lot of those, or many of those, have already come to the platform. So how do they grow the subscriber base? They've got to widen it. So I think we'll see tweaks and changes to identity, perhaps, to the way the platform works, to the way the platform's marketed, to make this Zwift family wider and probably a bit deeper, but to people who may not have thought about turbo training, to people who may not even have thought about cycling. There's a phrase that Eric Min, the CEO, is using a lot now, which is you don't have to be a cyclist to be a Zwifter. And I think that's absolutely key to the short-term development. 6 years, God, I mean, I think...
we're going long range for this.
Long range. Well, I mean, their ambition, and I think they're capable of delivering it, is to make it the foremost platform for home fitness.
Well, we see runners already on there.
Yeah, we see runners on there. I think rowing is coming before very long. There are machines, I've never seen them, but I've heard about them where you can train for swimming using cables,
strings and things like that.
I mean, there's a lot of fitness you can do at home. I think as gym fees increase, I mean, I look now at what people pay to join gyms, and it's a huge amount of money.
I did a spin class the other day for $45 for the hour.
It's big money, you know. As kind of traffic and congestion increase, actually getting to the gym is a pain. So I can see both of those things working in Zwift's favour. The home now has kind of become the centre of entertainment. You will watch a movie at home. I mean, you'll still go to the pictures, but you can now watch a movie at home with a cinematic feel. So why can't you have a gym experience at home with a gym feel?
It's where you're sitting right now. Look at what we've got,
and crucially interacting with other people. So I think that the ambition is to build a platform for home fitness across a variety of sports, and I think that's where we'll see it going very long term.
I'm hoping to see the integration of Wii bowling. I never quite got the 300. I got $2.99 and choked.
Yeah, well, I had spent a small time being obsessed with Wii ski jumping, actually.
Wii ski jumping. Golf was also good.
And ski games.
Right.
Ski games were quite good.
Did we cover...
Because you can get ski trainers. Have you seen those ski trainers?
I haven't, but my butt's hurting even thinking about the burn on that already. Didn't Zwift have a patent on golf, or was it rowing? We dug into this a while back into ZwiftCast.
I don't know. The mist's never cleared on that.
I Google searched some patents and what Zwift holders patents. I couldn't find it the other day. So I'm going to have to dig back into that. But really interesting what they have potentially. I mean, you cover things first and then execute on them later.
Yeah.
So whether they execute on those, we don't know. But I think it was golf.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if it's capable of being converted into an algorithm, a movement that results in greater fitness. Then I think Zwift are going to be looking at it.
Well, if you saw on part of the Zwift dark web, I posted the other day virtual horse racing,
yes,
and they had horses that you sit on indoors, but. That's nothing new. What was new, though, is they had 4 of them lined up, just like the eCrit. It looked like the e-horse race. That Melbourne Cup's coming up soon here as well. So Spring Carnival's racing here. So on that, real sport or e-sport?
For me, well, it's both.
It's
really.
both, yeah?
It's both. I mean, my experience as a cyclist is enriched by cycling inside and outside. You know, I do a bit of very informal racing outside. I do racing inside. So for me, the two things are not exclusive. They're not exclusive. You know, I'll always ride outside. It's just I'm probably a little bit more selective now about riding outside. So It's the better days. It's not rainy days. It's not very windy days. But I mean, there's a group of guys I ride with on a Saturday morning, and some of the best rides I've ever had have been those kind of rides, bunch rides with a group of mates outside on a nice day. To be honest, there's not much can beat that. Having said that, you know, I get a lot of kicks out of doing big group rides on Zwift.
eFondo, the first eFondo I took part in. I'm not sure if you were there, but I know you join in the Hump Day ride every now and then and see your name pop up there and a little UK flag. That's how I know. Usually it's just Aussies.
Yeah. I do feel a bit of an outsider.
These imposters every Wednesday night. But there's always someone to ride with as well. Outside there may not always be someone to ride with. And sometimes you want to drop those people outside, but it happens inside too. Best of both worlds there. So you're riding in Australia, you've been outdoors.
I have. I've been lucky enough. I'm built in a little bit of riding time to this trip. So I've ridden in Perth, I've ridden in Adelaide, I rode in Coffs Harbour just down from Brisbane, and I've ridden in Melbourne. If you want the headlines, coming from the UK, I think cyclists are way better served here. Way better served.
Good to hear.
I mean, if you look at particularly Perth, certainly Adelaide, and they've just committed a whole ton of more money to Adelaide to building bike tracks. In Perth, I rode, 60 or 70k. I think maybe 6k of that was in traffic.
I love the river loops in Perth. Anybody watching from Perth?
Fantastic.
Simon logs it as much as I do. Loved it over in Perth.
I would say to Australian cyclists, compared to UK cyclists, you don't know how lucky you are. I mean, you've generally got good weather, and certainly the provision for cyclists here is head and shoulders, and 20 head and shoulders above UK provision.
Speaking of your head and shoulders and riding outdoors, magpies. It's magpie season. It's swooping season. Any encounters with how friendly?
Just one. It was only. It was marginal. I kind of felt it. I felt the beat of the wings rather than the peck on the cheek.
Now you're leaving tonight, so you got off easy. You got off really easy.
I've heard it's a real problem.
They draw blood. Last year in Sydney, I was riding along, and I think I Facebook or YouTube live this at the time. I'm riding along. This was in town, not the rural area where you think these native animals are coming out to kill you. Riding a side street in Sydney, whack, and I felt something warm because they really hit you from behind, and I'm like, what the... It drew blood. Now, a lot of us Aussies, people say, there's animals out there to kill you. There's snakes and there's spiders and there's all things like, we learn to live with those and we laugh it off. And here I am on the side of the road going, this bird just drew blood from me when I'm riding. So, we get it. But you got off really early, really easily, which is good to hear.
Well, I saw a sign. And there was a warning sign about swooping birds. And I think it was specific to cyclists. And I'm like, what the...
There's also warning signs for kangaroos. They're probably even worse. Kangaroos will bounce along and then bounce sideways into you on the road. So if you've dodged those, you've done well. Thanks for coming along to the Lama channel, we'd call it. And thanks for being on.
It's nice to see where you do your thing, if only for a limited time.
Yeah, we're out here. We're moving to Ballarat. So boxes and boxes everywhere, and we're out of here. So where can we find the ZwiftCast? How can we subscribe? And where do we see the video these days too?
Okay, really easy. If you go to ZwiftCast.com, there's links to all the places where this appears, but it appears on a podcast host called Podbean, Podbean. Again, just search that. It's on iTunes, it's on YouTube. Basically just pump ZwiftCast into Google and it'll pop up all the various places you can see it.
Excellent. I subscribe via iTunes, so it comes down. Rarely do I listen because I'm also on it at the same time. But every now and then I watch the video. The video's been really good. Yeah,
the video started the last 3 or 4 episodes. Again, a bit of an experiment. A lot more work in producing it, as you will know. But people seem to like it, to my surprise, because it's quite long, the ZwiftCast. It's usually about an hour 50 minutes to an hour. And I thought that was too long for video, but people do seem to be watching it.
I think what comes through in the videos, we enjoy doing it. We really do. And the interaction, we just recorded one then with Nathan, and we're both sitting here, we're laughing, and then there was thumbs flying in the background, and we can't that doesn't come across in audio. But if you're out on the bike, the audio's gold. It really is. So anyway, thanks for coming along, and have a safe flight back.
Thank you very much. I've thoroughly enjoyed Australia. Thank you everybody here who's been so welcoming to me.
Cheers. Thanks for watching.